Beyond the music and the millions, a hidden truth about a mogul's empire is finally coming to light. We all know the name Sean Combs, or Diddy, a titan of the music industry who built an empire from the ground up. But what if the image we've been sold is only part of the story? There's a detail you might have missed, a thread that, once pulled, unravels the entire tapestry. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to explore the man behind the brand, the allegations, and the empire that's now facing unprecedented scrutiny. From his early days, Sean Combs displayed an almost unparalleled vision. He didn't just see talent, he saw potential for a cultural phenomenon. University was where he began building his foundation, recognizing the power of branding and influence long before it became commonplace. He nurtured artists like Mary J. Blige and Jodeci, shaping their careers and, in turn, the sound of a generation. But did he ever truly control the narrative, or was it always a carefully constructed illusion? His ambition was relentless. Diddy didn't just aim for success in music, he expanded into fashion, beverages, and television, creating a multifaceted brand that became synonymous with luxury and success. The image was aspirational, powerful, and seemingly untouchable. He curated a lifestyle that millions envied. But as we've seen recently, that polished image has begun to crack. What happens when the foundation of a seemingly invincible empire starts to crumble? The music industry were rising, and then accelerated. The 90s were a golden era, and Diddy was at the forefront, orchestrating hits and launching careers. He was a kingmaker, a visionary who seemed to have a Midas touch. Yet, beneath the surface of glitz and glamour, whispers of a darker reality began to emerge. Were these isolated incidents, or part of a larger pattern that was deliberately concealed? Suddenly, what once seemed like isolated incidents began to surface, painting a starkly different picture. Lawsuits detailing years of alleged misconduct have emerged, casting a shadow over his legacy. The carefully crafted narrative of a self-made mogul is being challenged by accusations that suggest a more complex and troubling reality. How does a public figure reconcile their carefully built image with mounting allegations? Now, people are looking back and they're re-evaluating everything. The empire built on music, fashion, and media is now under a microscope. The question isn't just about the past, it's about accountability and the future. As the legal proceedings unfold, the world watches, waiting to see if the truth will set him free or seal his fate. What will be the ultimate legacy of Sean Diddy Combs? The first layer is context. Every documentary story begins before the moment people remember. There is a setting, a chain of decisions, and a public reaction that shapes how the event is understood. In the case of the rise and fall of Sean Combs, the important thing is not only what happened, but why the surrounding details made people pay attention. That is where the story begins to move from a simple summary into something more useful. It asks us to look at timing, location, pressure, and the way one moment can represent a much larger pattern. The second layer is what people often misunderstand. A single image or short clip can feel complete, but it usually leaves out the forces around it. Viewers see the result, not the build-up. They see the most dramatic frame, not the quiet details that made it possible. That gap matters because it changes the meaning of the story. When we examine the rise and fall of Sean Combs carefully, we are not just asking what is visible. We are asking what is missing from the first impression. Then comes the turning point. This is where the story stops being only about one scene and starts pointing to a bigger question. Why did this particular moment stand out? Why did people share it, debate it, or return to it later? The answer is usually not one simple fact. It is a combination of emotion, uncertainty, and recognition. People respond when a story feels specific, but also familiar enough to connect to something they already care about. Another important detail is the human tendency to look for a clean conclusion. We want a final answer, a clear lesson, and a single explanation that ties every loose end together. But strong documentary stories often resist that. They leave us with evidence, competing interpretations, and a reminder that public understanding is always incomplete. That does not make the story weaker. It makes it more honest. So what value can we take from the rise and fall of Sean Combs? The value is not just the event itself. It is the pattern around it. It shows how quickly attention forms, how easily context disappears, and how important it is to ask better questions before accepting the easiest version of a story. That is why stories like this continue to matter after the first wave of attention fades. In the end, the rise and fall of Sean Combs remains worth examining because it sits between fact and interpretation. We can see enough to understand why it matters, but not always enough to close the case completely. And that open space is where documentary storytelling becomes powerful. It does not tell us what to think. It gives us a clearer way to look. The story of Sean Combs is a complex one, a testament to ambition, talent, and the often blurred lines between public perception and private reality. The empire he built stands at a crossroads, and its future remains uncertain. For more in-depth breakdowns of influential figures and the stories that shape our world, make sure to subscribe. We'll continue to unravel the narratives you need to know.